A lot of rough weather around the U.S. tonight. We have stormy conditions that are going to continue into next week across the northwest quarter of the U.S. And a lot of warnings up. The winds have been horrific in some places. We have our own issues with rain, wind, and maybe even a couple of thunderstorms that we might have to deal with as a storm system moves across southern Canada and heads east. And we've got it all right here on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And you can support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Do your Amazon shopping using our referral link that is on the description to this podcast on YouTube. Because when you do, you get your stuff. Amazon throws us some coin for sending you there, keeps the podcast commercial free, and it doesn't cost you 1 cent out of your own pocket or 1 cent extra. I mean, you got to pay for the stuff you buy, but Amazon throws us the coin, not you. So be sure to do what's left of your Christmas shopping if you haven't got it done already by shopping on Amazon. And Tempest by Weatherflow, get the revolutionary Tempest weather system, and you can join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet, Joe Rayo. The link for this is pinned to the top of the chat board. It's also on the descriptor to this podcast. And of course, Joe knows the coupon code.
That coupon code is Autumn 2025, and with it, you can get 10% off anything that you purchase from Tempest. A pretty good deal, especially as we're approaching Christmas.
Yeah.
In just another week.
We've got the wind advisories are up, Joe.
Yeah, it was a little surprising. I mean, normally when you put up something, an alert for wind, you might start off with a wind watch and then change it to a wind advisory when you're closer to the event. But, they have the advisories up, so good for them. It's going to be windy out there. Not as windy as what they've been seeing out in the Pacific Northwest where, Seattle and Portland have 50, 55 mile an hour wind gusts. And once you go a bit higher in elevation, they've been seeing in parts of the Pacific Northwest gusts in excess of 100 miles an hour. Ouch.
You mentioned a city, was it yesterday or the day before, that, like, there's a Jersey Shore, Pennsylvania. And you mentioned a city in some other state.
Philadelphia, New York.
Philadelphia, New York. Well, Joe, there's an Atlantic City, Wyoming. Okay. And they had a wind gust of 123 miles per hour.
Incredible.
I couldn't even fathom it. Spokane, a 75 mile an hour wind gust there, as you said. Tacoma, Seattle, they had gusts of 50. And they're not done because I got the satellite loop going. We'll show it in a second because the next round is coming in. This has been really unrelenting. It made me think back about California. I don't know, was it a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, where they had, it was same idea, but it was cold so that they got snow after snow after snow. And there are big snows in the mountains here, make no mistake. But this is really just crushing the Northwest because it's been going on now for about 10 days. And it's still going to go on into early next week.
It's crazy. It is absolutely. There are no words to describe this. You're absolutely right. It's like every single day we hear of some new devastating burst of wind and or rain. How much more can these people take? I don't really know.
In fact, since we're talking about it, let me just bring up the satellite loop here. And welcome everybody on the chat board tonight. And those of you who are lurking in the background on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, we're here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m., although we will be off this coming Sunday. So subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. And we're on a streak with 100 likes, so we love it when we get 100 likes. So if you like the show, even just a little bit, hit the like button. Now, here's the next surge. They got a break today, a short break, and in some places it wasn't much of one. And here comes that next surge of subtropical moisture heading right for Oregon and Washington. And if you look carefully, actually, you don't have to look that carefully. You can see the swirl of the upper low in the Gulf of Alaska that's just sitting there and just pulling up all this subtropical moisture northeastward up into the Pacific Northwest. It really is unrelenting here because nothing's moving in the Pacific. Everything is just kind of locked up.
Isn't that where the purported where the upper low is, where that storm system that you just pointed out is? Isn't that where the pool of very warm water happens to be located, or
Well,
is
the
that?
water temperatures up there going into November were above normal. I don't know if they are now. They may not be, uh, but a lot of energy has been coming over the top from Russia and into Alaska, and then diving southward, just off the west coast. And it's one after another. So they keep getting these. They keep picking up this subtropical feed that just continues. Uh, if we pulled the satellite loop back yesterday, it looks almost identical today, except for maybe the fact that there's a break there in the northwest. It just doesn't move.
It's incredible. Again, it's just something that if you happen to live in the Pacific Northwest, coastal sections of Oregon and Washington, most notably, it's you wake up in the morning and you say, now what's going to happen today?
Yeah.
It's and especially it's hitting them hard, especially since, as I just noted at the top of the show, we're only now a week. I mean, next week is Christmas Eve. And
Yeah.
somebody on the chat board making comment about Christmas decorations. I mean, if you, I mean, we here at my house we have 5 illuminated reindeer on the front lawn, and with those kind of winds, those reindeer would truly be flying.
Yeah. Chuck Cardillo is saying that the water temperatures there are actually still above normal. Thank you, Chuck, for letting me know, letting us know. So that is the Pacific satellite. And here are the watches, warnings, and advisories up, and it's very colorful out in the west, you must admit. All that gold, those are all high wind warnings, and they extend from western Minnesota all the way to the west, the coastal areas of Washington and Oregon. Wind advisories, too, all in the mix. We have winter storm warnings in parts of western Wyoming, northwest Montana, a couple of counties in central Idaho. Winter weather advisories up the Cascades. And we have blizzard warnings tonight in northeastern Montana and across the northern half of North Dakota into northwest Minnesota. And then it kind of tails off into winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories as you go a little bit further to the east. Got dense fog along the Gulf Coast this evening in Louisiana and places along the Texas coast. And of course, you see our wind advisories. We have high wind warnings up for north central New York, and we have a high wind watch for southeastern Massachusetts. So it's all busy, busy, busy. And here's
Right.
the
That's what I was saying. I mean, like normally you would have had a wind watch posted right now, because to me, if you post the advisory gives the impression that the high winds are coming tonight or early tomorrow, and it's still a good 24 hours away
I
from.
know. I would have thought they would have. I was a little surprised too. I would have thought they would have waited till tomorrow morning to put it up.
Right,
But
right. I agree.
I guess for whatever reason they decided to jump, to go ahead and do it now. Maybe they're thinking with the Christmas holidays approaching and going into a weekend, and this is a bit, busy shopping weekend and all the rest of it. People are going to be running around and gridlock alerts. Do they still have those?
Oh yeah. In fact, there was a gridlock alert posted for tomorrow and for Friday. I know because I was on the road today with Renato. We traveled into Long Island to for a friend whose wife passed away, and yeah, I tell you, Joe, you lived on Long Island for a good part of your life, and I told Renata at one point, I said, now I remember why we moved to where we are. We're here in the Hudson Valley because it's a whole different experience when you're traveling. Once you get across the Throgs Neck Bridge and go into Long Island, the traffic is so I can't describe it. And of course, they also have the single passenger. What do they call it?
HOV lane.
The lane.
Right, the
Yeah, the
HOV lane, high occupancy
HOV lane.
vehicles.
Yeah, and they don't have that where we are, but they have it on Long Island, and well, I tell you, it's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, gridlock alert. I'm surprised they just didn't say arbitrarily gridlock alert every day for the next week. I
Why
mean,
not?
as we approach Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Paul Roman bangs the tip jar tonight. Thank you for hitting super chat, to, Paul, and Merry Christmas to you too. Very generous. Thank you so much for hitting the super chat tip jar. We have a
He's got a bone for
9
JJ too.
and a bone for JJ. Yes, we
Yeah,
have a 977 low just north of the border of Montana into Canada. And you see it here on the surface map. I'll make it nice and big. And you can see the temperatures to the north are in the single digits and low teens. To the east, in the Dakotas, they're in the 30s. And then you go to the other side of the warm front, and we're looking at 40s and 50s. Now, obviously, if you go up into elevation, you're not going to be in the 40s and 50s. It will definitely be colder. But on the whole, temperatures are on the mildish side in the northwestern part of the United States, given the pattern that we're in. And as we check out the satellite loop, I'm going to switch to the North America one so we can take a look at the continental United States. And there you go. And I will also make it go a little bigger. Hang on. Here we go. 9. There we go. So there's our U.S. satellite loop, and you see the rotation there in what province is that? Is that Alberta province?
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's where the low is. And as it moves eastward, you can start to see this funnel of Gulf moisture that's coming northeastward through the Western Gulf and heading into the Gulf states. So this is the setup here as we get the Gulf of Mexico opened up for this cold front that's going to be approaching, because that low is going to move straight across southern Canada. And of course, again in the west, on the upper left, you see the next surge that is coming eastward. Here's the radar right now. We've got a little bit of snow up the St. Lawrence River Valley, touching parts of western Maine. We have a little bit of shower activity that's starting to break out in coastal Texas and into Louisiana. Actually, there's some echoes aloft over me, apparently, or very close to me here in North Georgia. And then we got this mess of rain and snow through the Dakotas and into Minnesota, snow to the north, probably rain as you get south into Nebraska, and snow here in northern Montana, where we're playing with the blizzard warning. Let me just take a look and see what we're talking about as far as snowfall is concerned, because we all know that blizzard warnings, I think for most people, they equate that with at least a foot of snow, and it doesn't have to be. It's about visibility and wind. And as we check out the snowfall forecast, we are looking at not a whole lot. We're talking about maybe 1 to 3, 2 to 4 inches in those areas that have the blizzard warning. But if you're going to couple that 2 to 4 inches of snow with 50-mile-an-hour plus wind gusts, you're going to have a problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're right about people thinking that when they hear blizzard warnings that it means a lot of snow. I mean, I could remember once we had a strong cold front with a line of snow showers and squalls, and I think the Weather Service had posted blizzard warnings, and they made people, oh my goodness, it's going to be, and it wasn't for that. It was simply because there was going to be a period when there was going to be very strong winds, very low visibility. It didn't last very long. In fact, as our mutual friend Alan Casper would have said on the radar, it looked like a stick, so to
Yes.
speak. But it was a solid stick of snow that was going to roll on through, and for 10 or 15 minutes, oh my goodness, it's going to, but it was short lived, and it came through, it left, it went, and it was all over, and that was that. No big accumulation. So
Oh, we got Mr. Tolerus is on the chat board tonight. We're gonna we'll do our local weather. Then, if you're still around, we could get him on to talk a little bit of long range. We're still getting big snow amounts, crazy snow amounts in the Cascades of 100. Tonight's big numbers, Joe, 126 and 138. So if you're going to want to play the pick three, you could play 126 and 138. Guaranteed that those are the numbers that are going to come out tomorrow when they do the lottery. And
Everybody was playing Powerball tonight for the 1.2 billion dollar jackpot.
oh yeah,
But that wasn't. I didn't bother with that, Joe. It wasn't big enough for me.
I was going to say, Joe, and besides, then you have the burden of money,
Exactly.
and who wants that?
Yeah.
Here's the WPC's precip 7-day liquid amounts. We're looking at 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a quarter. I think the average rainfall amount is going to wind up being pretty close to or just over an inch out of this, especially if you get caught in some convection, which I believe there will be a couple of rumbles of thunder with this as it moves on through. And it also goes all the way up into Maine and into southeastern Canada. Lesser amounts as you go south, some areas of a half to 3/4 from Kentucky and Indiana into western Pennsylvania, and also from southeastern South Carolina up through North Carolina into Virginia. And then, of course, you've got, I swear, whoever makes this forecast out in the West, I mean, this map has been virtually unchanged for the next 7 days. I mean, they may have done a tweak here and a tweak there, but we're talking mega liquid amounts from Central California all the way up. And eventually, by the way, that area is going to shift southward, to expand and shift southward. And we're seeing areas of 10 inches of liquid or more, including in the Sierra Nevadas, and that's going to wind up being snow. So they got some big snow headed there. And of course, further up in the Cascades, just absolutely pounded. And it's just all on top. That's the thing that's marveling me, is this is all on top of what has been going on for at least the last 10 days or so. Just been crazy. So on that note, I'm going to start with I was looking at the polar vortex, which was kind of interesting to me. But we have
It's rather stretched.
yeah, this is what it is right now. It's stretched out, and uh, of course, whenever we look at these things, actually, you know what I'm going to do? See if Dave wants to come on. We can just blab away. Give me a moment here. We'll get him on, and I gotta just gotta message him first. Here we go. So just take me a moment, and if he pops on, he pops on. So, yeah, it's all stretched out. But when you look at this stuff, and when you look at anything that's going on in the long range, you just have to remember that it's only one piece of a very, very complex puzzle. You can't say, "Gee, the stratosphere, the 10 millibar is stretched out, therefore we're going to get this or we're going to get that." Um, Clearly, the stretched out vortex. We know that when it's weak, it tends to displace cold air to the south. But with all the other factors at play, it the amount of cold air that'll be coming into the east over the next 10 days or so will be somewhat limited. But there will be some, and it'll be confined probably mostly to the northeast. But we're seeing it just kind of pull up, rotate around, stretch again as we move through next week and beyond. Now, the only thing I would also say is that when I look at this is 5 days from now, so into early next week. It is stretched out. It kind of balls up a little bit toward the end, but that could just be the one run because I've noticed using this, looking at this over the past number of years, that oftentimes, just like everything else on the models, when you go out further in time, it winds up being much more vulnerable to change. So I wouldn't put too much emphasis on what it's doing at the moment. Scott Burler, thanks for hitting the tip jar, and thank you for the kind words. We try to do our best here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which airs Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. So there you have it. Okay, let's switch off. Let's look at what the upper pattern is telling us, if it's telling us anything. and I'll roll back. A couple of things to make note of. First off, the last trough to move through the Northeast is now moving away. And by the way, Mr. Rayo,
Yes.
can you remember the last time that New York City went 21 consecutive? I don't know what it finished today. If it finished below normal, if it did, it maybe by a degree or so. So I really didn't look at what the highs and lows.
Today's high was 47 at Central Park, and that by far was the warmest day that we had so far this season.
Okay,
So far
so
this
that is
month.
also so let's say that today was maybe just slightly above normal, slightly above average. Today is the 17th. So we had the first 16 days of December all below normal, and I did the math, averaging over 8 degrees below normal during that stretch. I mean, that
Eight
is
point 8.3, according to Jeff Smith over at WABC Channel 7.
yes,
8.3 degrees below normal.
8.3 degrees below normal. And actually, the first day of below normal temperatures was the 27th of November. So a streak of 20 days. So this has been a very impressive stretch of cold air that we've had, and we are going to see it relax to a large degree as the trough pulls out. And of course, you see all the action going on in the west. And here comes our trough for Thursday night and Friday. Now, the upper trough doesn't actually get through until Friday evening, and you've been pointing this out the last couple of days. As far as the colder air, and the colder air behind this is not all that particularly cold. Let's make that clear. But it's not going to come in until later in the day or in the evening when the winds go around westerly. Because tomorrow morning into the Friday morning into the afternoon, we're still going to have southwest winds in the upper atmosphere.
And that plus the fact that I think that by the time we get to midday on Friday, we're gonna see the sun come out, and that will too negate any sharp drop in temperature. I mean, there's no question it's going to be turning colder or chillier by late in the day Friday, but by then most of the day is behind us. So if you're going to be out and about, and we're going to see temperatures tomorrow night, probably well up in the 40s, maybe even around 50 for many, and it'll hold there and maybe go up a few degrees into the early part of the day on Friday. So we're looking for a spell of mild temperatures. And here where I live, Joe, and for a lot of places outside of New York City, there's still snow on the ground. Being out in Long Island today, a friend of mine was saying, oh my God, we had like 7 to 9 inches of snow, and there's still a goodly amount of it out there. If you're going to, and we had a lot of sunshine breakthrough during the afternoon hours. It was sunny, temperatures were in the upper 40s, but it didn't seem like much of the snow was melting. You want to get rid of that snow, not so much with the rain, but as I've said over and over again, fog. Fog is a snow eater. So if we can get a night's worth of fog late tomorrow night and into the early part of the day on Friday, that snow will go very quickly.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's not going anywhere. It's certainly not going to go anywhere tonight. Temperatures tonight are probably going to range anywhere from mid teens, like 14, 15, 16 here in the Hudson Valley, those rural valley spots, to maybe mid 20s near the coast and for urban areas. It's going to be cold tonight and tomorrow again. Sunshine, lots of it, but temperatures getting into the 40s, and there'll be a bit of melting, but only slow melting. We'll have to wait for the rain, and especially, as I said, the fog tomorrow to get rid of a lot of the leftover snow.
I want to pull up the NAO because I think it's important with what we're talking about today. All right, here we go. We'll do it the long way. So here's the NAO, the North Atlantic Oscillation. It's actually slightly positive at the moment, and it is forecast, and it's been negative really for much of the last couple of weeks. It went briefly positive these last few days, but it's forecast to go negative again by one standard deviation. That is the one. That is the one thing that is going to keep uh, the Northeast from getting into a blowtorch over the next couple of weeks. That NAO being negative is going to hold it back. It'll get warm in the Midwest. It'll get warm in places, west and south. But the Northeast is going to be on the edge of some colder air that's going to come down from time to time. And lo, lo and behold, it is His Eminence Terence Cardinal Tolerus on there. All you need is your Who in Whoville hat, and you'll be all set.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah, that's
So,
and I just did.
In fact,
Oh, he's up to something. Joseph Carr hit the tip jar. Thanks, Joseph, for hitting Super Chat tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Joseph.
Oh, it's our Sherlock Holmes.
Yep.
I really wish the Brits would do a new season of Sherlock Holmes with Benedict Cumberbatch.
I know.
That was so good.
Yep, it was outstanding in every possible way. So
I just argued I'm arguing the point that the one thing that I believe is keeping the East from going into a blowtorch pattern the next couple of weeks is the fact that the NAO
howling negative. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, the NAO being negative, and actually, if it could get a little strong, this is where you maybe want the NAO to get a little more negative, because that might set up a thermal boundary just to this, a little further south, and you get some of that Pacific energy that's getting ejected into the flow. And I think that's why the GFS is doing what it's been doing overnight runs and today's runs.
Yeah, it's interesting. You look at the MJO here. You've got three different solutions. Let's see. I thought of one of them. The European model has it going into the neutral circle, then back to phase 8, neutral circle, right to mid-January. It keeps back and forth. The GFS does that, but then after January 5, it swings it out into phase 7, and looks like it's going to go back into phase 8 fairly strongly in mid to late January. And then the CFS has it going into phase 1 and 2, and eventually 3 by mid-January. So those are very, very different solutions. So there's a lot of uncertainty here.
And probably
you're absolutely right about the block.
No,
the block is kind of keep the Northeast, and you look at the temperatures. And I mean, I guess there's been a lot of talk about the Christmas warming of the blowtorch of social media. Most of that, I don't know. You could see where the heat warmth is. The warmth is going to be in. I mean, if you look at it right now, folks, it's raining in the freaking Dakotas.
Right.
Okay, in December, it's raining.
Yeah.
Okay, and the snow line is on the Canada border. Please don't tell me that's not a warm pattern. It is. Now, that being said, we are going to see some cooler temperatures in next week, week 2. Yes, that would be. Let's see, that'd be the 17, 24 to 30, something like that. Now, one of my competitors in the private business, I think BAM Weather, they went hog wild. That is massive negatively tilted trough. Dominating all the Midwest down to the Georgia, and just the huge rush of cold air in the last week of January. I don't know what that's based on. Maybe the shit stains in the shorts. I don't know what, but that's an irrational. Now New England is going to be colder. Yes, there's no doubt about it. New England's going to be colder. Okay, but that doesn't mean the trough's going down to Virginia or it's going out to Chicago or Tennessee. That's way too much in this pattern.
I agree. So, what you got to really hope for, if you're a snow lover, we've had with sort of a west-northwest or northwest flow that's there, that you get something that just like what we had on Saturday, pretty much the same idea. You get something that gets ejected from the Pacific, moves up through Montana, the Dakotas, and then just sort of slides southeastward from there, or east southeastward from there. That's the way you might be able to do something. I got the. I'm going to put it back up on the screen. We do have. I was just looking at here. That's pretty nice looking high over Greenland, and this is my argument that if you got this negative NAO, if that wasn't there, you'd have the bridge just flying up the East Coast.
Yes, of course.
But being that it's there, it's going to keep things contained.
Yes.
And sometimes you can do what you from a standpoint of snowfall, you actually can do well with it if whatever comes out has some, has a little bit of punch to it.
Well, if you have something, let's say, coming out of the trough in California, it's going to go over the top of the ridge
Right.
and then drop down into, let's say, the Great Lakes of Pennsylvania, and that's a New England snowstorm, maybe New York City. But that's what that is. That's not a mid-Atlantic snowstorm.
No. You're going to be a little bit too far south for this.
Right.
All right. So let's. I'm going to do the surface here. Show everybody, at least on the last run, what was going on here with the La GFS. But here's our system for Thursday night and Friday. Deep low, very tight pressure gradient. The strongest winds, Joe Rayo, I was thinking from 2 a.m., after 2 a.m. and into Friday afternoon before they start to ease a bit.
I was thinking that between 4 a.m. and 10 a.m., that 6-hour interval, that would be the best time for parts of the tri-state area to experience convection. Not severe, not talking about severe thunderstorms, but just convection. But I will tell you that if you have convection, and with that gradient, I mean, you could have some brief wind gusts in excess of 55 miles an hour, which could be damaging. So as that morning commute on Friday is going to be one for the books, I think. If you're heading for school, be extra careful because you're going to have a rough time, I think, because of those strong winds.
By the way, here's a parade of lows. So here's the first low, and it goes out. Again, it's a fast shot of colder air that comes in quick and goes out just as fast. And then we have already the next low with Pacific Energy moving east across southern Canada. Not as deep as this one. And this has a cold front that comes through on Sunday, which doesn't have much weather with it. And then and there's your colder air that comes in for Sunday night and Monday into Tuesday. And then you start to play the game. There's one more after that. There's a third one for Tuesday. And it's sort of like a pseudo warm front, I guess, where you've got some little snow breaking out in Pennsylvania. That mostly goes into upstate New York and New England. And then that goes away. And now we start with, okay, now here's where the flow is a little stronger from the northwest, or the ridge is a little flatter, and you start getting little ripples that come along. So the GFS wants to bring one through on Christmas Day, which is kind of interesting. And then that goes out. It does have some snow on the northern edge of it. Not impossible. Not impossible. And then that goes out, and then there's another one almost right behind it on Friday. And who knows if that's even right, the way the model handles it. But, from New England down to maybe Maryland, and then going north and west from there through the northern Great Lakes, there's a chill. Everybody else to the south and west of there is going to be on the warmish side, but that's where the thermal boundary sets up. And there's another one for Monday the 29th. And then that goes out, and it's got some kind of low that comes out of the southern central plains and heads up to the western Great Lakes after that. But, the other takeaway, I think, Dave, is that the pattern looks busy. I mean, there's a lot of energy out there in the Pacific, and any one of those could do something if it sets up correctly.
Well, after that thing that goes through on December 23, 24, the one you talked about in the GFS, the European has it further north. And you're seeing a significant temperature difference. So, like on December 24, I'm 64, 65 on Christmas Eve, and you're at the around, I don't know, 40, 42 in New York City.
Right.
And also significant temperature difference there. So, you have to, and that's the whole thing, is that if you explain it to people, well, a lot of people are going to be really warm Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and the day after Christmas. I mean, after Christmas, after that system goes through, and like you said, it's a warm front. All right. Let's see, what about Christmas Day, the 26th? I mean, the 60s are almost reaching Cincinnati and Columbus, Ohio. And but again, further north, it doesn't quite get that warm. So it depends on where you are and how you phrase it. And, so if you're going to do the New England thing and say, well, New England's going to be chilly, therefore there's no real warming. You can do that if you want to. I mean, it depends what your reference frame is. Right. If you're covering the eastern half of the country, then there's going to be some really warm days coming up. It's mainly south of Interstate 70.
I agree. We're on the same page.
So that's
So,
so my Christmas Eve is going to be we're going walking and hiking because we're going to be in the 60s. Oh, and Christmas Day and the day after. So,
there's
but
nothing wrong with that.
nah, I
Nothing
know.
wrong with that.
But so I figure if
I
it's not
love
going to
that
snow,
hat, though. I love your hat. Where'd
everybody
you get
does.
it?
Well, I had four of them. So
I love.
I have a massive Sherlock Holmes collection, about I don't know 200 books, something like that, including ones on my tablet and then in my closet and my bookcase. So it drives my wife nuts. She says you have to get rid of the books, and I'm like Thomas Jefferson. The famous quote from Thomas Jefferson: "I cannot live without my books." So
Why would she
that's
want you to get rid of the books?
because she's a woman. That's all they do is bother you. I'm doing science here.
The
I'm doing
following
science.
the following disclaimer. He want nothing to do with what he just said. Anyway, anything you'd like to add? You still as bullish as you were back a few weeks ago with respect to January?
Yeah, I think it's going to change eventually. I don't think it's going to last. So, and the thing about it, if you look at perceptions, okay, end of November, mid November, it's going to be really warm. Okay, then the pattern shifted. We got cold. Now the cold's going to last all winter long, or most of December. No, that turned out to be wrong. Now we're in a warm pattern. That's it for the rest of the winter. Well, okay,
No, that's not gonna happen either.
So everyone, trying to keep a perspective about things.
Well,
Let me remind everybody that tomorrow is exactly 1 week to the birthday of the most important person in the history of the world. Of course, I'm referring to Sir Isaac Newton, who was born on December 25, 1642. So I just want to point that out. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I do that. It pisses people off whenever they see that.
I know. Yeah, you do
You
that
still
pretty
think
well. You do that
you still
pretty
think
well.
we're going to be in for? You still think we're going to be in for a warm February? A lot of people on the chat board have been saying Dave Tollers is still thinking that it's going to be we're warming up by February.
Well, yeah, but my transition was by the end of February. So I do think we have an early spring. I don't think we're going to have an extended winter into March. So that has not changed yet. So, but that's I'll look at it again when we get to mid-January, see if anything's changed. So I still keep looking and hoping that the La Nina breaks down, but so far it doesn't look like it's doing it.
Well, didn't we have that issue last year? It waited, to break down. The European kept breaking it down, and it eventually did, but it took a hell of a lot longer than what the model was generating.
Yeah, that happens. I mean, if you keep saying it's going to happen, eventually it happens. You're not really forecasting anything. You're just saying it's going to happen. Eventually it does. I mean, that's monkeys and typewriters and bang, bang, bang. Eventually you get to something right, but that's not really forecasting.
Right. So. All right. Well,
monkeys and typewriters.
David, you want to play, Joe, you have Briller Jeopardy. You want to play?
Sure. Why not?
Why not? Joe's got Briller Jeopardy tonight.
Okay, so I've got to get the questions that were sent in by the chairman, Scott Briller, and I will do that momentarily. I have to go through some various machinations to get it. And all right, so here we go. This is Briller Jeopardy. Percent chance of a white Christmas in the following 5 cities. You have to give the percent chance. What do you think will be for a white Christmas? And we will start with Marquette in Michigan. What do you think the percentage is for a white Christmas in Marquette, Michigan?
You mean chronologically speaking?
No, statistically, not based on the weather that's going on now. Statistically, what's the percentage?
65%.
For Marquette, I'll say 90.
Well, you're both on the low side, believe it or not.
100%.
We're looking here at John Melander and also Leon Probitsky, both saying 90, and Patrick Darcy, very, very close, Patrick, with 95. Same for Marky D, 95. Frank R., you're just whereas Marky D and Patrick Dorsey were a tad too low, Frank R. was a tad too high at 97. So what does that tell you?
That Mike Waterhouse Bonsai is the fastest one on the chat board at 96.
And there you go. Davey Full also 96. 96% chance climatologically of a white Christmas in Marquette. So how about the windy city of Chicago? Chicago.
I'll say I don't. I'll say 30, 37.
Oh, I thought you were going to get it, Joe. Thought you were going to get it. You're just a tad too high with your 37.
37.
I was going to go 45, but after that clue, I'll go 35.
Well, with 35, you're, as we say in snake country. If you were a snake, it would bite you.
Which means it's either 34 or 36. So Marky D is at 34.
And Mike Waterhouse Bonsai also at 34. David Full at 34, and that's it. 34%. 34. So we go a little further south. This is, if you're a baseball fan, the Cub fans and the Cardinal fans have had a rivalry probably as long, if not longer, than the Yankees and the Red Sox. But we go now from Chicago to St. Louis. St. Louis. Percent chance of a white Christmas.
Dave, go ahead and guess St. Louis first, and then I'll guess.
24%.
A little too high there.
I'll say 17.
Joe, you're in snake country with that 17.
Ah. Well, let's see.
Marky D
and 18.
And Conroy Jett, both 18, and Helen Bertona at 18. You're all right there, 18%.
Okay.
How about Milwaukee?
Milwaukee. What did we say for Chicago?
34.
34. I'll say 36.
You had the right idea by going higher than Chicago, Joe, but you had to go a little bit higher than that.
Little more.
My number is like 39. Well, let me take a look. See here. 40.
Well, you still have to go a bit higher. Very close in snake country is Rich Rothmansky with 43. But John Melander, you hit it with 44. 44%.
Chicago's not that far from Milwaukee, so that's interesting that it's about 9% higher, or 10% higher in Milwaukee. It still didn't win the World Series, but that's neither here nor there.
Our last one is Louisville.
Louisville?
Yes.
Louisville.
Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville.
12%.
12% is
12. He says 12.
A bit high.
Yeah, I was going to say 9.
Yeah, that might be that's single digits. Yeah. The only reason I didn't do a single digits is because it was north. It's by the Ohio Valley, I thought maybe, but no. Yeah, single digits might be right.
9% is a great guess, Joe, but unfortunately not good enough. Conroy Jett gets it with 8.
8. Well, I'm not too shabby tonight then.
And what are the chances of snow being in climatological snow chances in Chester, Virginia? 0.0.
Oh, you mean that's Mr. Blutarski's?
Yeah.
Like,
0 point shit.
All right.
There has scientists have not found a number small enough to determine that chance of happening of it happening.
So we're going to be next week probably off Wednesday and Thursday unless there's something going on.
Right.
It would have to be something important. So maybe we'll get you back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Works for you?
What about, So, but Friday, you don't do Friday, right? Okay.
No, we don't do. Unless there's a storm around, we don't do Friday. And we're not doing this Sunday because I got stuff going on. So
yeah, it's Christmas week. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will be in touch, Mr. Rayo, are you
Okay.
all set for tomorrow night?
I'm ready to go. Why don't we start
Okay.
right now? We'll get an early start.
Well, we certainly could do that. But we'll wait till tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. and we'll see everybody tomorrow night. Thanks for the super chat hits. Ta ta.
See you, buddy. Bye.
Bye.